You're listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. With your hosts, Anthony Our Destiny, Joe Ferrani, and Jerry Kenna. Interviewing entrepreneurs, business operators, and investors. This episode of Between Two Bridges is sponsored by Paymark Payroll. Payday is the most important day to your most important people, and payday is made easy at www.payyourpeople.com.
Hello everyone, we are here with another episode of Between Two Bridges. I'm your co-host Anthony Our Destiny, to my left.
Joe Ferrani.
And Jerry Kenna.
And kicking off 2024, we have our first female. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Angel Kuhn, co-owner of Don Kuhn Auto Body.
Okay, so I guess to start us off, I'll take you back to 2006. I was driving to a Leonard Skinner concert. I got rear-ended. So there used to be a little bar by, I think, 40th Street, and ended up still driving to the concert. So my whole back end was smashed. But when I got home, my mom recommended Don Kuhn, so that's where it ended up. Someone called me, asked if I wanted to total the car. It was just like a college thing, but I was like, nah, fix it. So that's how I got introduced to you. But,
Interesting.
take us back a little bit, but obviously the first guest with the automotive background, so how did you get into that? As a family business?
So I actually ran out of gas, and I was dating my husband at the time, who is the grandson of, he is Don Kuhn. Mm-hmm. So I called on, and I'm leaving college and going to lunch, and I called on, and I'm like, hey, I ran out of gas, come get me. I'm on 28 or 22. And he sends his grandpa, and you know Don Senior, so this like 6'2" old guy, white hair, comes, and I'm like, my boyfriend's grandpa I never met before. So he's lecturing me the whole way back because he had to tow. He just came and towed it rather than bring gas. So I'm sitting in the waiting room, and his wife offers me a job as a secretary. Okay. And so I take it because at the time I'm working at like Dave & Buster's, did not like it there. And I started at Don Kuhn Auto Body making $8.50 an hour, basically being her personal assistant. And then just really grew from there. Different opportunities presented themselves. I'd say maybe about 3 years after working there, they asked me if I had any interest in becoming an estimator. So I did. I switched offices, went and worked basically underneath Don's uncle, and eventually got my estimator's license.
Did you know anything about cars beforehand?
I grew up with the boys, you know, in the neighborhood, so like I knew enough to like get the dirt bike started again, but that was about it. Like nothing. I didn't know what like a broken rad support was or anything. But I had an interest. I wouldn't say like no interest at all. I definitely had an interest, so that's kind of why I pursued it.
Yeah. Opportunity knocks.
Yeah. And it came knocking.
Are you from the area?
Yeah.
Take us back, I guess, to the start.
Born and raised in Penn Hills. I'm actually from North Bessemer. Okay. Went to Penn Hills till about 10th grade. And then I went to Boys Middle College for high school. Graduated from there, and I did go to, I have a associates in business management. So in between all that, different jobs, you know, college jobs. I was a housekeeper at a hotel in Monroeville. Worked at the car wash, the Shell in Penn Hills. And then, like I said, she presented that opportunity, so I took it. And I always say no matter what happens, I love being an estimator. It's something different every day. You kind of are like the nurse to the doctor, the body guys, you're like the nurse to them. Each story's different, it's not the same. And probably my favorite estimator job was when I worked at Progressive Insurance Company. I was like a field estimator, so you go to all different shops and write estimates and whatnot. And you kind of just get to really manage your own day. I had a really good supervisor too, so reporting back wasn't, it wasn't bad or anything. So that was all very interesting. And that's kind of whenever I got the opportunity to buy Don Kuhn Auto Body. I'll never forget it. I'm sitting in a parking lot writing a total loss. F-150 rolled on its side, came off of a carrier truck. Oh, wow. So I'm writing it, and like I'm 2.5 years into this job, and 6 months after I land this job, this is like my biggest, career move, because I had to like quit my fiance. No, we're married at the time, and I had to quit to his grandmother. She was the owner. So I go in and I'm like, hey, can I get a raise? I'm like making nowhere near what I should have been making. And she's like, not really, not at this time. And I was like, oh, okay. So I go and I'm on the hunt. I'm like, there's no way you're capping me out. Like, that's not how I am. So I love her, by the way. But so I go on a couple different interviews. They gave me a chance, because a lot of companies like that, they don't want shop experience, right? They want you kind of writing tight, a little along the edges. So, but that's why they actually gave me that opportunity, because I did have in-shop experience. I seen that repair process, and that's so crucial to being an estimator. I actually did an interview today with a body guy, and I told him how important seeing that repair process is. So, I put my 2 weeks in at the shop, and I go work for this insurance company, and like, it's my first big job, making real money. I think I'm rich. Like, I think it's, this is it. So,
is it commission? Like, as many?
No, salary.
Okay.
You make a salary, but it came with like benefits I never seen, 401k, like career job. Yeah. So I do that, but first 6 months I get pregnant with my first child, and I have to go to my male boss. I'm the only woman in the field. I skip actually a bunch of people on the inside, because they do a lot of hiring on the inside, and this time they pick from the outside, and like a couple of people are like, what's she doing here? I actually had, and I am gonna tell this story, I had a coworker. I'm there maybe a year. I have the baby. I go back. I'm there a year doing an inside shift in the office, and he looks at me and he goes, we're just conversating, and he looks me dead in the eye and he goes, you probably have this position because you're a woman. And I mean, Jerry knows me. I mean, I'm like...
That went over well.
Yeah.
But I'm in corporate
you're from Penn
world.
Hills.
Yeah,
Bessemer, exactly. Probably not what you say.
I'm in corporate world at this time, so I'm like, okay, Angel, like, get it together. And I just go, oh, yeah, maybe. And, like, I just brush it off, and that's, like, I did great. Like... So
hopefully you don't run into him in a bar.
So I actually ended up mentioning it to my boss like a while later, like not like that, no reporting. And he's like, you should have told me immediately, like, Mom, I'm not that girl, but it ended up working out for me.
Yeah,
so
definitely did. Where's that guy at now?
Yeah, I don't even think he's still there, honestly. I really don't. And so I'm working there. I have to present to my boss I'm pregnant. That's like awkward for me. You know what I mean?
Well, we don't know what you mean.
Yeah, true. You don't. Ask your wives. They might.
Yeah.
So I present that, and, as a woman in a male-dominant career, let's just be honest, I almost felt like it may have set me back. I have my own territory. That's a big deal. I have my own, what they call, like, network shop for them. So I'm managing one of our network shops. That's a big deal. Like, there's only like 7 other reps who manage these shops. And, you lose that for your maternity leave. You know what I mean? Another rep comes in, they take your territory, they take your shop. You get it when you come back, hopefully. And I did, and it worked out for me. And I always say if the shop, being the shop owner, didn't present itself, I would still gladly be there driving my ERF, is what they call it, and going shop to shop, because you just see something different every day. And I'm not a person who likes to sit still, so it's interesting.
Yeah, so you got Kenny Pickett. Like, if you have a baby, just like Kenny Pickett's out and Mason Rudolph steps into your territory, you know.
You never know.
You never know.
Yep.
So when you first started doing estimates, was it all tablet-based? You have computers, paperwork?
Yeah, when I stepped in, it's funny you say that. When I stepped in, it's all computer-based, so you have a software. There's multiple different softwares offered, but you have a software and a database, and basically it's like the vehicle's birth certificate. You know, once you enter the VIN in, you have all that database in front of you, and that's really how I learned how to write an estimate. You have your pictures for each category, and you learn what a car is made from inside and out, how it works, how the repair is done. But we were just talking about it. I mean, these old school guys, like Don's pap, Don's uncle, you didn't even have digital cameras when they started. You sent the film, took the film out of the camera and mailed it to the insurance companies. Like,
and it was still faster than it is
everything
today.
is so instant now. It's like I would not have been an estimator.
Yeah,
You had to pull out books like this thick and look up the parts. And
yeah, my uncle had like a little shop locally, and it was wild. Like when they would, like Progressive, I can remember Progressive just had a tablet and just banged it out. And it told you the hours, everything, you know.
That's how, the software tells you. So when I worked at Progressive in the field, we had laptops. So everything was on your laptop. You carried your laptop straight to the car side, wrote the estimate. You had a printer right in your back seat, printed it out. Here you go. Have a nice day.
Yeah, that's
Or
wild.
if you were at the shop, you know, you had to present all that to the shop. And that could be intimidating sometimes, but
Shop guys are different.
they're very different, especially when a young woman walks in pregnant. Yeah, I was out in the
What,
field
are you
till
lost?
9 months. Yeah, like literally. A couple of times they apologized for their bathroom situation. They're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, we've never had a woman," you know, and I'm like, "Oh, it's fine." Looks like someone might have got lost in here.
So I think that you probably still face challenges even today because, and I always think about that. I think about sometimes I have clients that like to be underestimated. Some don't, but some like it because your competitors don't see you coming. I would imagine that you probably deal with a lot of shit from estimators and vendors and competitors because you're a young woman it's a male-dominated world, right?
Right.
Whoa. Field, not world. Don't be giving the world.
The auto body world.
Yeah,
the
the auto
automotive
body
world.
world. Yeah, let's check that out.
It is. But you're dealing with that. And when you first took over, I met you whenever you were, I don't know if you were an estimator when I met you.
Oh, I remember when they introduced you, when you took over the business.
I don't think you were quite an estimator
No,
yet.
that's when I was like a
I
secretary.
remember you were doing the payroll and stuff like that. And then I remember when you left, and then watching you come back and seeing like I'd be there on Friday dropping off payroll or be there, pick up a freaking car that got smashed. And seeing you like I picked up my I had that red Sierra, that red GMC, and it wasn't quite cleaned by the time I got there. And I remember watching you go back. You were drying it off from from it being washed. Like you were like running around like your hair was on fire. And I'm like, she's freaking running this place. And then I remember the one time I came out, I think it was a different day. There was a Silverado parked in the where the pickup is, and it had streaks on the chrome bumper. And you lost your shit. And you pulled the guy that was cleaning the trucks out, and you showed it to him. and you said, "That's not how we deliver a fucking truck to a customer. Fix it." And I was like,
I wish I had those balls. I'm like, man, I'm fixing myself.
So, I mean, they can underestimate you all they want, but, I mean, you're doing it.
Right. I think a big portion of that is I take a lot of things personal, and what am I, 4 years into owning the shop, I can genuinely say I'm getting better at that, and I have to. I'll never forget my old boss told me, he goes, you take things personal. I mean, I'm talking a bad survey from someone you knew you were getting a bad survey from the beginning. Mm-hmm. It's just, I think because I'm very passionate about anything I do. I know that sounds so cliche, but like you said, cleaning the car. I tell my guys every meeting, every customer is a future customer. I mean, if you get your new chrome bumper back on your new GMC, especially a guy, are you going to come back if it's all smeared up, fingerprinted? You know what I mean? There's a lot of competition out there. Yep. We got to, stay good at what we do. So
you're right. It's little things like that. I had tires put on my motorcycle, and that motorcycle at the time had chrome wheels on it. And I'm not going to say what local Harley shop did it. But I got the bike back, and it had all the goo that they put on the wheel when they put it on, that lubricant. It was all over the chrome wheel and all over the tire. And I'm like, what the fuck?
Just take the minute.
Clean it.
You know what I mean?
You know what I mean? Like, you don't give this back to and that was the last time that dealership touched anything about it. Because I'm like,
people care about stuff.
I mean, it was the little thing that took me, a half an hour when I got home to clean it, but like they shouldn't have given it to me that way. They should have cleaned it while it was on the lift before they dropped it and gave it back to me. And if they didn't take enough pride in what they did for me to wipe the wheel off when they were done, what other shortcuts are they taking?
Right.
So what are they going to do to your carburetor when they take it off?
Well, it's fuel injected, Joe. It's 2024.
Come on, man. The only motorcycle I was ever around was a 62 Panhead.
Yeah, that was carbureted.
So that's in my defense. But no, you only get one chance to make a first impression. Right. You know? And like in your field, like a lot of times it's not like you have to repeat the same person, right? So like in my business, it's repetitive because like they go to work, they wear the shirts, they get them dirty, they bring them back. Well, hopefully in your case, for your clients, people like they're gonna wreck a car, and hopefully they're not gonna wreck a car and wreck a car and wreck a car and see you 50 times a year. So
other than Jerry,
no, knock on wood, it's not. I mean, okay.
But yeah, so like you have to because like you got to give them something to talk about,
right? We also have a full service shop now, and so we like to try to capture a lot of those customers from a collision repair or vice versa. Used car lot, same thing. If we sell you a used car, come back to us, get it fixed. Get it maintenance by us, that type of deal too. So it's a lot of services we can offer under one roof. So it's important that if they're there for one department, hopefully that department does execute. You're gonna miss stuff. I mean, you're only as good as your help. I mean, and it's a tech shortage right now, man. It's scary. There's a lot of people dropping out specifically because this new generation, A, doesn't want to work, and B, they don't want to do manual labor. And being a body guy, it's an artist. I mean, that's artistry in my opinion. It's a trade. It's a trade that they're taken out of schools. I mean, Penn Hills used to offer it. They don't, it's a shame that's such a skill to have. I did an interview today, and he's very green, and I'm just like, is this what you want to do? And he's like, yeah, I went to school for it. And I'm like, okay, because it's such a good skill to have. You're learning something every day on a car. And I mean, other than if we're going to be flying soon, we're going to be driving forever.
Cars are gonna wreck.
They're always going to need something. So
yeah, as long as 28's there, you have business.
Yeah,
there's a wreck on 28 every day. It's just hard, and with you said with the help, it's like as a business owner, you take pride in everything you do, but to our helpers, it's just a paycheck to them,
right?
And it's
and your employees are never gonna care as much as you do, no matter what.
It seems like every business has one,
Right.
One or two
Yeah.
that will ride or die.
Oh, I have a handful. I would not be where I'm at without them. I mean, hands down, there's no way I would be where I'm at without like Lisa, my main tech dog, you know, lead drivers who've came in and helped me in times. We're definitely family oriented, small business type of deal. Like when they said, I'd tell the guy with the bumper, you know, get this fucking clean, because we're comfortable. You know, it's not like the new guy starting. I'm like, hey, motherfucker, get this done. But if I feel comfortable, I will.
So did you start the shop that does the daily repairs? Was that always in play?
Absolutely not. You mean like the shop?
Well, the
itself?
body shop's been there forever.
Shop.
Yeah. So no. Don Senior, which is my husband, Don the Third. His grandfather and wife essentially started the shop. One man shop. I have the pictures up on the wall at the shop because it's such a story. And I also come from uncles I have two different uncles who own two different local mechanic shop. My grandfather on my dad's side, he owned a small, I think it was like a golf station, you know, with a little service bay at one point. Way before my time. But so Don Senior started Don Kuhn Auto Body at its present location, 1971. Nice. Now, it was on the Verona Hilltop. Years before that, he was like Verona Hilltop's go-to. And they moved to this 227 Sandy Creek, 1971. He literally built it from the ground up. He bought it from Daly's Juice. Daly's Juice, I found all this paperwork, and it's just so interesting, the history, but Daly's Juice didn't build on it for whatever reason, because it was ground level. If you know the shop now, you have to cross a little bridge. Well, that was all ground level. So I think he bought the property for like $3,000. Builds it. It's funny to see the different stages of all the photos. You know, it started as just a shop, then they had the office, then they had the carport, and then I think it was like probably about 2014, maybe a little before that, they built the service shop, the mechanic shop. It was ran by Don Senior, his wife Sarah, and basically their sons and their team for 50 years almost.
I remember when they built that building. That building was like, that's a nice building.
Yeah, that's where our service shop is. We have the mechanic shop. It's 2 bays, alignment rack, and then the other side is like detailing and like a little bit of a truck shop for our tow trucks. Yeah. So that's a huge portion of our business. We are a local tow provider, and that's really what Don Senior is and was cut. And he was towing. He is towing. I mean, all the old school tow guys, they know him. He knows them, you know. That generation's almost gone, but that's what he was. And then obviously towing correlates with, hey, let me fix your car. So that's when they get into the insurance repairs and the mechanical and the used cars, because, you know, there's a ton of used cars now available. So it all just kind of went hand in hand.
Yeah, what, like vision, like just a vision from the ground up.
Yeah.
You know, you look at a tow truck driver, you're like, this guy's just here towing my truck. And then you like, well, I'm going to start an empire.
Right. They were they were the definition of a mom and pop shop. That's what, whenever I think of it, my territory for that insurance company was up north in like Newcastle, Slippery Rock, and that's all you see up there. It was just mom and pop shops, and it's how they raised their family. I mean, they did really well for themselves, you know. They did great things. They've sent kids to college, you know, they gave all their kids cars, grandkids. Yeah. And honestly, it's why, I mean, other than our effort and what we've done, but they present us an opportunity and we ran with it. I mean, it was a hell of an opportunity, and it was presented to others. Don't get me wrong, but we executed so far. I mean, knock on wood, we're 4 years into it. We were 1 month and the pandemic smacks me in the face. 1 month live.
Yeah, because they always say if you get through your first 5 years, you're like kind of good. But if you get through your first 2 years during a pandemic, you're fucking fine.
Good.
You're fine.
Yeah, I'll never forget one of like our vendor associates, whatever you want to call him. He come in and we're like looking around like, okay, this is really scary. Like this, I'm shitting bricks at this point. And he's like, well, if you make it through this, you'll make it through anything. And I'm like, we're about 1 hour into this and I'm feeling sweaty, you know. I'll never forget the day I had to let my guys go. And what were they gone? Maybe about 4 weeks. And it was a Sunday night at 7 p.m. That loan hit my account. They were back. And they're like, you brought us back? Like, I mean, there were other small businesses doing really crazy things, not bringing people back. And I'm like, that was the hardest thing I ever had to do was tell my people, hey, it's time to go home. Like, I can't pay you. No work. There's nothing here to do.
My people stayed the whole time. And there was one Sunday I'm able to go to my point of sale and see what we took in. And I had to call like my one right-hand person in the plant. And I called her and was like, Renee, I don't need you to come in tomorrow. She was like, "Are we getting laid off?" And I was like, "No, there's just literally no shirts that came in the last 3 days, so we're not going to work Monday." And it was like, scary. I remember where I was standing when I had that conversation. I was like, "This could be the end of everything I've worked for." Yeah. I was standing in my home that I was under construction remodeling. And I'm like, dude, just keep drinking icy lights and praying.
Let's hope this plans out.
Yeah, it's the longest 2 weeks to flatten a curve I've ever been involved in.
Yeah, I kept my one lead tech. I kept myself, and Don, my husband, came in and painted actually, you know what? He stayed home. 3 months, he stayed home with the kids. I had the prepper at the time. We turned him into a painter. Yeah. And I'm looking at my lead tech. I've been friends with him for years. We've been doing this. And when I came back to the shop, he actually didn't work there at the time. And I'm like, if I'm doing this, you're doing this with me. And he comes back and I'm looking at him. It was a Honda CR-V we fixed. It was the only car that week, silver one. I remember her name and everything. I remember they would repair, and I'm like, wow. Like,
the shop doesn't run on one fix a week.
Oh, no. The overhead down there is astronomical. And I'm like, all right. And then they just trickled in, you know. Like we said, cars keep wrecking. Yeah. You know, there were people still out.
And that might not have been the worst part. Like for you, like in your field, that might not have been the worst part. You didn't know what was on the horizon, the supply chain issues that you were about to experience. Like, talk us through that.
Are you still dealing with supply issues?
We're actually seeing those supply issues now more than COVID. Wow. We actually were just talking about that at the shop. I would actually say supply issues, I feel legitimately comfortable enough to say it's a pandemic with supply issues, parts issues. It's insane. And I think a big thing of that is not only there's no knowledge, you know. People don't want that knowledge because who wants to wreck their vehicle? So you don't want to sit down and be like, okay, this is exactly how it works when you wreck your vehicle. But people don't understand, hey, you know, I can't get this airbag sensor for your vehicle. And they're like, what? And I'm like, and by the way, they're not going to extend your rental past 40 days. That's just how these policies are written, and it's work. There's like, this is how this works. And they don't like you very much after you have to present that stuff. And it's daily, it's hourly. I mean, all day today we presented, hey, we can't get parts. I mean, you know it. We fixed your car this time last year. Couldn't get a grill for like 4 weeks.
I got to ask a question. How many cars do you guys bang up?
So, you're going to fucking jinx me, dude. The last time I had a car at the shop was this time last year, and it was my wife's GMC. And it was the day after Thanksgiving that it happened. We were at her grandmother's house or something. Came home about 10 o'clock. Took the kids in the house. About 4 minutes later, somebody very much under the influence came by and smashed it. Smashed it.
You got a couple cars out of that deal, didn't you? There was a couple cars.
No, I think the other's totaled.
No, the other one her car was totaled. We thought mine was going to be, but it wasn't as bad in the daylight. It ended up being okay, and it got fixed. And the lease was up, and we don't have that car anymore.
Yeah.
But it was bad.
I used to think you just bought cars because you wanted to buy cars. You buy cars because you wrack them up.
No, you know what, dude?
He buys cars because he wants to.
Yeah, that's just a sick.
I was trying to put something on the air for you. So, yeah.
That car was freaking. I swear that car was jinxed from the day we got it. We got it. She was picking up a cake in downtown New Ken, and some dude just sideswiped her. It's parked. Some dude just sideswiped her. You fixed it then, and then we got it fixed, and then 3 months later, she is at Whole Foods, opens up her door, and then some lady pulls in, and gets her tire hooked to the molding on Amber's door and broke the molding off.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, what the fuck? Now, it was only a little piece, and I don't even think we ever even fixed that.
Don Kuhn made more on that car than GM did.
So when that last accident happened, I'm like, total it. And we couldn't because it wasn't enough damage. But I'm like, I am so done with this car. I'm done with it. And we ended up, we couldn't get out of it. But we ended up
Shortly
getting rid
after,
of it. Shortly after that, we got rid of it. But whenever we went to trade it in, they're like, wow, this car's been in 3 accidents or 2 accidents. And I'm like, yeah.
No fault of my own.
But,
It's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's fixed. It's good.
Yeah, Carfox came out.
Yeah.
Carfox got me. But, yeah. So it doesn't happen that often. But
she is our first female guest that owns a body shop, and you referred her. So
it is. Yeah.
I'm familiar.
Yeah.
Could you talk about that leap from, I guess, W-2 employee to ownership? Was that an easy conversation with your husband? Did you? It obviously was scary, I would assume. We've talked to some other people about taking that jump, if you will.
So I was, like I said earlier, I was sitting writing a total loss. I get a call from Dawn's grandma. She is very much like me. Dawn, my husband, the co-owner of the business, the reason why I'm here, is he's very much silent partner. He will. I don't even think you've ever had a business conversation.
But we had that conversation. Is she the co-owner? And I'm like, well, yeah, she's the co-owner. It's her and Don the third. I said, but Don's the body guy.
Yeah, he's a painter.
He's an artist. He does his work.
He doesn't like to talk.
Angel runs the business.
He doesn't even like to order a pizza. So she calls me for what, their own personal reasons. They were ready to kind of move on. It was one of those things where he built this empire, and they weren't really just wanting to let it go to just anybody. I mean, they very well could have, but so she calls me. I'm at work, and she goes, "Do you want to buy the shop?" And I'm like, literally just like that. And I'm like, how much?
That starts a great conversation, because a lot of times you get all this information and people are like, well, we don't know what we want to sell for. It's like, well, I want to buy it, but if you want $7.8 million, I can't.
Right. So we didn't talk numbers, that conversation. I go home, I talk to Don. I'm like, did you know this was going to be a conversation? He goes, I had zero idea.
She called you, not him.
Correct. He had no idea. So we kick it back and forth for not even probably 48 hours. And I go, game time, let's go. Yeah. I worked there. I knew what, and I felt so confident with my experience under my belt now. I mean, I'm talking dozens of shops I've been in and out of at this point for Progressive, because that's what you do. You're seeing what's working here. You're seeing what's not working here. And I was lucky enough to manage a very, very successful, independently owned shop, just like Don Kuhn Auto Body up north. And I went in his office. I go, hey, I think I'm going to quit here and go buy a shop. And he's like, all right, this is what we do. And he gave me a lot of good pointers, and I put my 2 weeks notice in. we agreed that I can't just go back and buy the shop. I have to do a year there as a manager. This is my first manager job. Yeah. I've never been a supervisor. I'm like, okay. So I go in, I go to like, not that you guys know, but like Target women's section, get myself button ups. I'm like, I'm a big timer, man. I'm a manager. So I go in I put my 2 weeks, boss, super understanding, also gave me great advice. He's like, go get it, girl. Like, he was very proud. Even the district leader was like, well, it's not like we can counter you. You know, we can't counter you to
give you a shot.
here. Although the CEO of Progressive is a woman, and she is the only woman CEO of an insurance company. I found that very interesting. Nice. Yeah. So,
it's not Flo, is it?
No. So, go back, not even 25 minutes into my first shift, their frame technician, I worked with him before. We saw eye to eye for the most part, but obviously he wasn't a fan because he comes in, he had keys to the place, he had worked there longer than I've been alive, literally. Here you go, Angel. Has his keys in his hand. I'm looking at him. Puts his keys in my hand. He goes, I'm not working for you.
Oh.
I go, okay. Yeah, I didn't want him anyways. But he goes,
F that guy.
I go, okay. And like, mind you, never been a manager. Yeah. So we dealt with that. I had, like, just to be transparent, a shit show of his staff at the time. Yeah. It was like very much shit show of what I inherited at that time. Like, they had done great things up until that time. Yeah, they were. Essentially.
The inmates were running the asylum.
Yeah, exactly. 100%. So I get things in order, and remember, I'm an estimator. I'm not a production manager. I'm not a body shop manager. I'm an estimator. Execute that. I'll write. I feel very confident saying I will outright most estimators. Again, I am 4 months into my job and I get knocked up again. So now I'm like, okay, I'm the owner here. There is no maternity leave. There is no 10-week, 12-week FMLA. So I tell I'm working with two females at that time. I inherited a female estimator had already been working there, and Lisa, she's still there, shop secretary. She's really shop all. So I tell them, I'm like, I know the estimator pretty well, but I don't know Lisa at all. And I'm like, I'm pregnant. Like, you guys are gonna have to help me here a little more than we thought. And 3 months after I tell them that, the estimator puts her 2 weeks in. She wants to go try her hand at the insurance world. I made it sound a little too good, I guess. So she puts her 2 weeks in, and here I am, probably about 5-6 months pregnant. I hire a guy, do a series of interviews. Again, I'm not a shop. These are my first interviews. I don't even know what to ask. I really think I Googled it.
What kind of animal would you be?
Yeah, literally. Like, what is your favorite color? I'm pretty sure I Googled how to buy the whole business, just to be honest. Yeah. Like, just to be so honest. Yeah.
I lawyered mine. Remember?
Yeah, I wouldn't be. I don't want to cut myself short, but Jerry, honestly, not because we're on B2B or anything, he, hands down, was one of the biggest reasons how I got to where I'm at right now. I mean, he introduced me to Rocco Causa, which helped us execute the whole entire business deal. He handled that entire transaction, still continues to, give good advice, and Jerry helped me through that whole pandemic. Seriously, thank you, Jerry.
It was fun to watch it.
Yeah, he really, as far as any financial advice, help, he introduced me to bankers, at anything.
Jerry's a business psychiatrist.
Yeah, he really is. Hands
Add that
down.
to your repertoire.
Yeah.
I think it was 3 months ago, I called, and he's like, why the fuck are you yelling at me? Like, I'm not yelling. You know this is how I am. Click.
I think Angel was just mad at me. And I'm like, what did I have?
I was just mad at the world that day.
I think our payroll and your payroll are the two that are last every week. Because, like, plenty of times in the old Oakmont office, I'd run up the stairs or send my wife down to grab the payroll. And I'm like, are you waiting for us? Like, no, I got to run Kuhn's over.
Yeah.
So I'm there, and she puts her 2 weeks notice in. Hurry up, hire a guy. 10.5 months pregnant.
His favorite color is pink.
His favorite color is pink. He's a total D-bag, but I have to deal with him because I'm going to have a baby cut out of me. And he quits 1 week before I have a baby cut out of me. And that's not, it's already scheduled. It's a cesarean section. Like, it's a C-section. It's already, you can't say, hey, baby, stay in.
Like, hey, I got a guy that quit today. Can we bump this up?
Yeah, hey, can we...
And the recovery is longer, too.
Yeah, it is. Well, so we go have the baby, and 1 week, 5 days after, I'm writing estimates in my bed at home from pictures being taken by Don's brother at the time, worked at the shop. So he would take the pictures. I mean, we were photo estimating before photo estimating was a thing, because that is a thing now. So he's taking the pictures. Lisa's doing all, like, the HR admin side, like, dealing with the customer. It was a shit show. We had a baby. Like, the shop had a baby. So I bring Donnie back. Donnie the fourth. I had to. So we bring him back. He's 7 days old working at the shop. And I go back, and we had no time off. There was no estimator. I did hire an estimator, but he wasn't able to start probably till about a month after that. And
is that the Neil?
No, that was Chris. That was
His favorite
Chris.
color was green.
Yeah, blue for boy. And Chris taught me a lot of great things too. I mean, he owned a shop at one point, small, very small shop. Him and his buddy, we came from the same neighborhood, and he probably taught me how to be a production manager because he was one when I got him, and he really showed me a lot of great things. And then he moved on to, people want to do different things. He wanted to go run a deal. He wanted to have my position, but at a dealership. So he went and did that, general manager. And that's when I got Neil. And I actually knew Neil from the shop the first time because he worked at Progressive for 20 years and he was their field estimator in that territory. And he actually was a big reason I got the job because they asked him, hey, do you know her? Like, this is your shop. He gave me a good word, and I knew when Chris left, because that was all pandemic time, he actually had got laid off by a huge shop that you all love very much. Won't say any names. But they laid him off, and I hurried up and snagged him. And we do great things together. I mean, he's like the dad of the shop. He knows a ton. He's also been in a million shops. He has great knowledge, and I genuinely drag that question out long, but to answer it short, I still look at myself as an employee. I mean, ask him. I still call him and like, hey, can I spend money? Like, am I allowed to do this? And he's like, Angel, it's your money. Yeah, I literally.
Can I have a raise?
Like, no, it's not in the cards.
You think this is alright? He's Angel. Yeah. Like, come on, dude. But I still look at myself as an employee. I'd say probably within the last year, I've started giving myself like owner credit. I said 2024 is like the year I become the owner. Nice. We're 4 years into it, so we're doing good. I mean, the growth we've seen is like super exciting. Nice. It's actually unimaginable. I knew we'd get here, but I just didn't think we'd see these numbers that quick. I mean, we've tripled things.
Yeah, there's a lot to be said for the opportunity to be in other people's business. Because you have to bite your tongue when you're in someone else's business. We've talked about it before. Like, you can't, like, even when you're working with your family, you just can't change everything. You're not allowed.
Right.
And then when it's yours, you start looking around and you're like, all right, well, this is what was wrong at shop A. This is what was wrong at shop B. And you start putting yours together, and it's a nucleus. It's yours.
You know, family business presents its own set of complications, which you know. I know. One of the things that I'm always trying to make sure I'm cognizant of is, you know, I have family members that work for me. The last thing I would want an employee that's not a family member to feel is like, oh, well, I make a mistake and I get yelled at. They make a mistake and they're exempt because of their last name, because they're related. I would imagine, though, did you have challenges because, you know, it's a family business, but you're an in-law. You married into the family. I would imagine that you had some.
Oh yeah, it was.
You know, I mean,
you knew your place.
Yeah.
Also, just to be transparent, I mean, Sarah's a very strong woman. I mean, I come off strong, but she was a politician. She was a business owner. She was a very strong, intimidating woman, and I took that and ran with it. I mean, the things she taught me, I wouldn't be anywhere where I am without her, but you knew your place. You knew, hey, you're my grandson's wife. You know, this is my husband's business. That's why when I got that call, I would have gave my last. There's no way
Don
in a million.
the 4th.
Yeah, Don the 4th. There,
would have been easier.
Because there's no way I thought that conversation would have came, just because Don has a dad, Don had an uncle, you know, they had sons. Yeah, there were other people in line, and just they didn't want that opportunity, or they didn't take that opportunity, and they chose to go different ways. So I'm a firm believer everything happens for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Because even me being Don's wife, like, who's to say, would Don be the owner if he had a different wife? You know, I asked him that before, like, who's to say where we would be or what I would be doing?
Yeah.
But definitely challenges as an in-law, as a woman, no questions. As I hate to always harp on that, like, feminist, I'm a woman, body shop owner, respect me. But it's
I'm sure there's challenges. But imagine the fact that, and we don't need to talk numbers, but numbers have gone up a lot since you've taken over. But not only that, you went from your first day as manager having an employee walk out because he won't work for you, to now, I don't know a lot of the guys that are back in the shop, but I know that the people on the front end of the shop would go to war for you.
Yeah, they did. I mean, I lost my parents this time last year. I lost my mom 2 days before Christmas, and I lose my dad 20 days after. Insane. Would not. I mean, I would have closed shop if they weren't there. I mean, Lisa, Neil, Dawn, Doug, my drivers, Mike, Eric, they ran my shop. I wasn't going back there. I needed a month. I mean, I probably took a smooth month and a half, and I had a baby and went back. Like, I needed time for that. Still do. I mean, there's days where I'm like, I'm going home. I just don't feel like being here. And they did go to war for me. And that was the most vulnerable, and still continues to be the most vulnerable thing I've ever gone through. And they went to war.
They always tell you, it's like, oh, you just get through the year first. I call bullshit.
Right.
It's every day.
It's
a song.
day.
It's a left-hand turn on a road. It's, you know, he's lost his parents. And,
right. Sorry about that.
And that's never gonna go away. But like, I think with you've had obviously a drive to be where you are now. So now, unfortunately, losing your parents is a terrible thing. But now you have more drive.
Right.
You're already badass.
They were
now
so proud. I mean, I know parents are proud, but they were like, I mean, even Dawn would say.
And they got to see it.
Yeah, they did. I mean, one sad part was we just put on, we bought probably $500,000 refinish center. We did that in our 3rd year of business. We put on a brand new state-of-the-art refinish center and new paint booth. It was just, we designed it. We got to do that. And my dad was a contractor for his career. I would FaceTime him and be like, look, they got this stage, they got that stage. But he didn't get to see it all the way done. But he did, essentially, you know, somewhere up there, I'm sure. But that they were very proud. So they were the proudest parents there ever were. Dawn's like, no offense, but like your parents call you every day, like 5 times a day. I'm like, what can I say? Like, they do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Be thankful for that time now, right?
Right.
So.
How many employees these days? You've obviously talked about the growth. You talked about interviewing. It seems like you're short-staffed a little bit,
We
too.
are short-staffed. Yeah, I just had a body tech, which is crucial in the game right now. We're typically a 3-guy shop, so we run on 3 body techs, a painter, and a prepper as far as the collision shop goes. And I had a guy leave, take another opportunity or whatnot, and so we're trying to fill that position, and it's a tech shortage. It's actually, I'm not intimidated by a lot, but if I had to say something was intimidating, that might be intimidating, just because, like I was saying before, it's a skill that's so hard to capture. But we have 13 employees. Okay. So I think when I got there, I mean, it's always fluctuated depending on how many drivers we have, but we've always kind of been like a 13 to 15 shop. Yeah. 13 to 15 employee shop, because we have the tow department, we have service shop, we have the office, and we have the body and paint shop. So
how many cars a week? Is there a number you like to hit?
A month we're averaging 65 ROs a month for the collision shop. So that's 65 cars a month, whether it's 10 a week, 8 a week. We schedule by hours, so we try to do 330 hours dropped a week. Okay. That's 110 hours of tech. Yeah. And that gets us to where we need to get. You don't always have a 330-hour drop a week. Like Lisa and Jerry, they have to tell me a lot of months, like, you need to stop looking at the month. Like, let's wait till the year. Like, calm down, because a lot of our stuff will roll over because you can't tell this car, hey, don't wreck 2 weeks before the end of the month. So, yeah.
And then with the part shortages and production issues, that's even more of a challenge. I remember when I think it was when Amber's car was in the shop, you had an Acura there that was there for like 6 months waiting for a part.
Lid. Yeah, we couldn't get a trunk lid. It was there for 6 months. Yeah.
You don't get paid until the trunk lid's in.
Right.
Wow. And that's what I try to tell the customers. You know, I think they think a lot of times you're using it as an excuse because you're
well,
lacking.
A lot of people are abusing it.
Right. That is the problem. But it's like, hey, buddy, I don't get paid 10 days till after your car's delivered if it's an insurance job.
So you've got labor in that car, you've got parts in that car that is sitting in your lot for 6 months waiting for one more part so that you can finish it, deliver it, and get paid.
Yeah, you have product into it because you've painted it. Less the part that's not there. But
right.
And the payroll's got to be paid.
Right. Yeah, you got to pay him every week.
The guys that worked on it, he's been paid for 6 months.
Yeah.
So you have to have a cushion of cash just to cover payroll and parts and all that shit, because it could be a while.
No wonders we're the last ones turning in payroll.
And I remember when we didn't have it. When I came back to the shop, it was such a shit show. I didn't realize I think I bought some debt I didn't realize at the shop. And we're a month into it. Pandemic hits. Broker than a joke. Parts vendors are 90 days. I'm talking across the board. They're calling, where's our money? And I'm like, where is that money? Like, every estimate, you make profit on every part. We're writing estimates. What's going on? And remember, I'm not a manager. I'm not a financial analysis.
You got your Target blouse on. You look the part. You're trying to figure it out.
So I figured it all out. I become good at it. And pandemic hits. I don't know if I could say this, but I truly believe that PPP loan saved my business.
Yeah, absolutely.
Same with other loans that came available after that, because I'll never forget, it's December. great relationship with the bank. We had a mutual relationship with the same bank, same lady. And she knows my plan. She knows I'm buying the shop. She's their current banker. And it's game time. We're 2 months out from my working capital needing to go live.
I remember this.
I walk in her office and I could tell she was very uncomfortable. And she was not like, I mean, you know this person. She's very chipper, very happy person, always smiling, pretty much the face of the office. And she's just like, becomes weird. She shuts down and she's like, long story short, they're not giving you any money. And I'm like, you've told me for 8 months now. I'm 8 months into this manager position. What do you mean? So I go to Jerry, and luckily he introduced me to a bunch of right people. I don't want to say luckily the pandemic happened, but shit happens for a reason, and those loans became available, and I really feel like we executed and used them exactly how and when we needed, able to pay those vendors. And I've never been 30 days past since because we just implemented processes that will never take us there again.
Yeah, the programs that came out, I have a lot of clients that, you know, you hate to say thankfully the pandemic happened, but I have a lot of clients that came out of the pandemic in better condition than they went in. Because if you knew how to get those loans, whether it was the PPP. Economic disaster, EIDL, EIDL.
We'll call it that.
Yeah, which originally was like $150K, and then they increased it to $500K. Like that program, which is like a 30-year loan at 3.75%, and through the SBA or the PPP loan. If you, and the sad part of it is, and I have, you know, a ton of my clients took advantage of it. But the reason they were able to take advantage of it is because of a relationship that I had with a banker that cut all the shit. Because the bigger banks like PNC and Citizens were taking care of huge customers before they were taking care of small businesses. Mm-hmm. And then even the mid-sized banks, your S&Ts, your like First Commonwealth, Dollar Bank, a lot of time they were so worried about, because when the PPP loan first came out, the rules kept changing because they were putting it out like, we need to get this money out. And then the politicians were reading what they were doing and going, okay, well, we should change that, or we should adjust this. So the banks looked at it like, well, wait a second. We're not going to give this money out until we know what the actual rules are. But the problem is that there was a certain amount of money in that fund, and the banks that were like, fuck it, let's just do it, they were using it up. And then your PNCs and your Citizens banks were using it up with huge customers, and small businesses were going to end up in the cold. So I had a friend that had a lot of banking relationships, and we found this small little bank in McCandless that was like, let's do this. And they hired somebody whose only job was to punch in PPP applications. And I think between me and my friend that worked with them, I think we did, I want to say like $13 or $16 million worth of PPP loans. We got a lot of money for a lot of our clients. And
saved a lot of small businesses.
It saved a lot of small businesses, because I had people that were reaching out to me that were like, hey, my buddy owns blah, blah, blah. He's your client. He told me you can help me with a PPP loan. And I remember this specifically. I had a guy who had a business. He dealt with PNC Bank, and he was a referral from a good client of mine. And he's like, he said, you can do this. And I'm like, yeah, here's the paperwork I need you to fill out. Do this, sign this. I need this, and this. He's like, okay, I'll get it for you. About an hour later, he got me all the paperwork I asked for. I submitted to the bank. 20 minutes later, I had the approval number from the SBA. I sent it to him in a text. I said, here's your approval number. Your promissory note's coming. And he's like, is this real or is this a scam? And I'm like, what do you mean? I'm like, that's your SBA approval number. He's like, how the hell did you get it so fast when I've been working with PNC Bank for 2 weeks and they won't do anything for me? I'm like, you got to know the right bank.
You do.
Right. Well, I think that we like to tend to bash the government, right? Like, screw them. They're always coming for us. They're looking. But I think that program, if used properly, saved a lot of businesses. It saved my business. You're saying it saved yours. And it worked. The problem is somebody else took advantage of it.
Right.
So now there's other things that they're supposed to do for us to try to, because we all survived because of it. Some of us made it through because of it. Some people thrived because of it. But right now we're at a standstill. We're like, all right, we're still in business, but you still promised us, the people that did it right, you still promised that ERC money to us.
Like
that's sitting in a fund somewhere.
Yeah, they have a lot of money left in the ERC program, the employee retention program, that if your sales were down in 21 versus 19 or 20 versus 19, and there's a couple other things that qualify you as well, you're eligible for a pretty heavy credit. And I think we did one for you too.
I think so.
But they're everything's suspended. They suspended everything in September. From what they came out and said is that everything's suspended, but if you already sent it in and it's pending, we'll send it. But other than that, we were going to wait till 2024 because they had so much fraud that I was reading articles that were saying that there were millions and millions and millions of dollars going to Russia and going to other countries because people were actually setting up fake companies and then claiming that their payroll, like they were affected by the pandemic, with just bullshit companies that weren't even in existence. So they didn't really have a good mechanism to filter that out. So they just stopped. And I've not read an article that confirms this, but I know that I have a handful of clients that we sent them in like May, June, July area, and they're still pending.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time. So
we're coming up on probably close to a year.
Yeah. So I think that they said that if you already had it submitted, I think that was bullshit. I think they just stopped the program. I'm hoping that they reinstate it once they figure out how to make sure that companies were in existence. But the problem was there was a lot of companies, and everybody, I'm sure you guys get text messages and emails, and there are so many companies that popped up that ERC relief, and we can get it, but they take 25% of it.
I still get text messages still to this day. They haven't released ERC funds in over 12 months, and I'll get emails and text messages about how I'm entitled to it.
Those are the companies are the reason why it's all frozen.
Right.
Because they were convincing people they qualified when they didn't, telling them they won 25% of the credit to do it, and then making them pay 50% of that up front.
Yeah.
And then getting the rest of it at the end. But then the problem was, if the IRS were to come back 3 years from now and say, hey, we want to see why you qualified, those companies are going to be gone.
Yeah.
Right.
They're not going to be around. Who are you going to call? They popped up in Tampa and Miami and Phoenix, and they're not in local companies. They're not accounting firms.
That's my play this year for taxes, Chair. We're not even filing. We're just going to send a letter to the IRS. Back. They were fake, bro. They didn't even exist. We're just getting out while we're ahead.
Years and years ago, I had a client that had a identity theft issue, and he always owed. Real estate guy, always owed money, like $10,000, $20,000 a year. So he had identity theft. Somebody filed on his behalf and got this huge refund. And we went to file his return. He got rejected for the identity theft because once somebody e-files under your social security number, it won't let it happen again. And I'm like, hey, dude, it looks like somebody got your information. And so we called the IRS, and they were like, yeah, did you not file this return for this $7,000 refund? And he's like, can I say I did? You can keep the $7,000, but it just saves me the $20,000 that I was going to have to pay anyway.
Find out who did it. Do it again.
Can we just call it even?
Yeah, you're going to make $7,000 a year, and I'm going to be straight. So
yeah,
keep doing it.
He's like, can we just pretend it was me?
Yeah, but like I said, I mean, I guess I wanted to give a little bit of credit to the program because it did.
Yeah.
I mean,
it did.
And like on my behalf, I paid my people. I paid them for 80 hours a week, every 2 weeks. I felt like that's the way it was set up. The money wasn't for me; it was to keep the business going.
Right.
And that's what I used it for. I'm the sucker.
Yeah.
That should have kept it, laid everybody off.
Yeah.
They would have been better off.
There's other people, man, who were just...
I've seen people, ballsy, man. I've seen people on Instagram with, like, McLarens with a vanity plate that says PPP.
That's crazy.
And I'm like, dude, you're just asking for it, man.
Well, there's a lot of people, like, facing big time for that, for those fake businesses and whatnot.
Their restitution should go right into the ERC program.
It should.
For businesses that actually qualify for it. Absolutely.
But I also look at it like, you say things happen for a reason, and I feel the same way. Everything happens for a reason. I felt like me and Jerry had a lot of conversations up until then. I was actually in Key West whenever it started really getting bad. And I was just like kind of cruising, like everything was, my numbers were up every year. And then for the rest of my life, I'll have that in the back of my head. Like, all right, man, it might be good today, but it could be shit tomorrow.
Oh yeah.
So stay within your means, keep it low key.
That's why I think I text you all the time. Like every 3 months, I'll be like, hey, can I do this? Or because I know I'm not a rich kid. I didn't come from wealth. Don I had a great life. Don't get me wrong. We had dinner and stuff, but we didn't have every brand new quad. All this brand new stuff. But I know what it's like. So I don't want to ever live outside my means. That's like, I think a lot of business owners, I think that's where they go left, is they start buying the McLarens and can I go out right now and buy the Porsche Carrera that I really want for my 35th birthday?
Sure, go
probably.
do it. Don't call Jerry.
I will, because he will. The last time I
dude.
called him, he goes, Angel, I'm not probably the one to tell you not to do it.
What was that? That was the Acura, right? That was your car.
No, I think that actually was the camper.
Was it the camper?
I bought a camper.
Yeah. And
I
I'm like,
love
I'm
that
probably not the
camper.
one to
I
talk
kind
out
of
of
leave
it.
him out of that. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm buying a building or doing something for the business, I'll bring him in. But if I have an itch to like buy a camp or
I'm the wrong guy.
A rare shotgun,
You're getting it.
Yeah, you're buying it.
Can you write off a camper, Jerry?
I've been trying. He still
had that
hasn't
same
budged.
You're raising a kid on a lot.
Yeah, it's,
I mean, the tow guys do
business vehicle.
need somewhere to write up their vehicle.
one more kid and you can. It's
Yeah.
called daycare. Don Kuhn Daycare.
Oh, no, we
Collision.
did that this last year. I yanked my daughter out of public school and homeschooled her from the shop.
Nice.
From April till she went back. Yeah, I put her in private school. I did I do pay tuition. It's nothing like that other school I asked you about, but we do, but it's a great school.
Yeah, that school, we won't say it, but I'm like, you're better off getting them a crash pad in Oakmont, sending them to Riverview.
I don't know how people are and we're talking kindergarten, first grade.
Yeah, it's
and
a lot,
it's
huh?
what?
It was like
$25,000 a year for a regular.
For kindergarten, for one kid.
Yeah.
Kindergarten.
I'm like,
Kindergarten.
you could get like $1,000 a month crash pad in Oakmont, just send them to Riverview and
It'd be
pretend like
cheaper
you
to
lose it.
just buy them a college degree and say they played athletics at USC. I mean, they did that.
To tie up this piece, I guess, Jerry, like if someone was looking to expand this year, what's out there? I mean, we don't have those programs, right? So
Lending and stuff?
Yeah.
Lending is real weird right now.
Yeah, rates are up, obviously.
Rates are up. Banks are tight because
Yeah.
they don't know what's coming.
Yeah.
I'm dealing with some deals now where, like the last couple of years we've been really, really spoiled. Where we're dealing with even commercial rates in the 4s, low 5s. I bought some rental properties and, trying to get a bank to do an 80% loan on a rental property and at 5.25% for 25 years, no problem. Didn't even have to think twice about it. But now we're looking at, rates in the 7s if you're lucky. Banks don't want to go 25 years anymore. They don't want to go 80% anymore. And then, I've got deals that are pending now where I'm talking to my banker guys that I'm working with, and I'm like, man, this is a slam dunk. Like this guy, like I have a client that has had a business, started another business, wanted to buy some buildings. A piece of land had some buildings on it, and it's a slam dunk. I mean, he makes
The
great
numbers
money.
work
The numbers work
yeah.
all day long. And the bank's response was, well, I don't know. This new business seems to be doing really well. I don't know that that's normal. I'm
Sustainable.
like, what are you talking about? He's doing really well. I don't know if that's right.
I shouldn't get money.
Like, and I'm like, what are we talking about here? And bank's
wanna see
coming
him
back, and we're working on this for 6-7 months. So every month they're like, well, we need an updated P&L. Here we go again.
Yeah.
Now we're sending more paperwork every month, and more questions, and and then banks decide. When a bank decides, what I'm seeing happen a lot is when a bank decides they don't want to do the deal, instead of being like, hey, we don't want to do the deal, they come up with some ridiculous request that you're going to be like, what? Fucking I quit. I'm not doing it. And make you look like they don't want to be the bad guy, or they just ghost you, which I've seen banks do, and I'm like, this is amazing. But it's a really weird time for lending, and you gotta, at this point, you gotta have 20, 25, 30% to put down.
Mm-hmm.
What do they call that? Skin in the game.
Skin in the game.
Skin in the game.
And what did that come from before? Like, what would you have to have before?
When it was good, on a commercial deal, you had to have 20.
Okay.
20 was common. 20 you could get done all day. It seems like banks are starting to come down. They only want to go 70, 75% loan to value. And they're just requesting things that are just silly. And it's definitely gotten more challenging. Sure. And then making the numbers work, like with real estate. When we buy a property, we'll buy it, fix it up, and then we do the cash out refi. We've talked about that in other episodes, but making the numbers work is becoming really hard, because it's like, well, I'm going to be at 7.5% on this loan, so my mortgage on this property is going to be $1,200 a month. I can't charge $1,600 a month for rent for this place. Yeah. So now I'm like, I'm not going to make any money. It's been really hard to find new deals because the numbers just don't work, because rates are so ridiculous. Now they're starting to come down a little bit, but we're looking at a couple deals now that they're coming in the low sevens. But I mean, 2 months ago, 8.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like we're in the middle of working one, and it's like mid 7s, and it's just like, you got to do it. The interest rate could be 30%.
Right.
And if you're in business, you've taken chances. That's just another chance you got to take.
Yeah.
So
as long as the numbers work out,
right.
As long as it still makes sense with that monthly payment, then I agree. And like all these real estate agents now are all posting, it's the best time to buy a house, and I'm like, maybe not, but they all say, what do they say? Marry the house, date the rate.
Yeah.
You can always refinance, right. And if the rates come down and the prices then go back up again, then you're not really in any better position, right? Anyway, but
yeah, I mean, and then you'll deal with, like, you've been around now 4 years and working for yourself, and when you go to buy a house again or you do something as a business owner, you're getting dragged. It's I mean, we put 40% down on my house, and it was still a bunch of hoops to jump through. I'm like, I'm paying my house appraised for almost double.
Over double.
I was putting 40 down, and then they're texting him and emailing him about, we need a new P&L, and it's like, I got the cash in the bank to buy it.
Yeah.
Just write the loan.
Yep.
So
especially a mortgage, you'd think.
On your home, right?
Yeah. Well,
now, did you build or?
I bought and remodeled and then purchased. It was kind of a unique deal.
Yeah, it was unique. But actually, in my experience, Angel, the funny thing is buying a house for personal use is actually harder. It's actually there's more regulation on a residential home with the equal opportunity housing programs. These banks are under tighter guidelines, and they could be subject to an audit. They have to stick to these numbers, whether it's debt to income, they have to check all these boxes, because they can be audited. The government can come in and ask, okay, well, why did you give him that loan and not her? Because that was outside the gray area. And I guess the government just really doesn't care as much about commercial loans. So there's a little bit more leeway, but commercial loans are typically easier to get done than residential. But you still have, they may want 30%. They're going to want a higher rate. So you still have that. You're not going to get 30-year loan on a commercial loan. You just won't. Most banks won't even go 25, especially now. But there's way more regulation on a home than there is on commercial.
And now a brief word from our sponsor.
This episode of Between Two Bridges is sponsored by Paymark Payroll. Are you tired of spending countless hours juggling payroll calculations, tax filings, and compliance regulations? Well, say goodbye to that chore and let Paymark Payroll take the burden off your shoulders. With our secure online portal, you can access your business information from any internet location, even your phone. Employees will love the ability to receive direct deposits, and they can access all their pay stubs, tax forms, and information through their own portal. Focus on growing your business while we take care of the rest. With top-notch customer support, we're always here to assist you with anything, at any time. Don't let payroll stress hold you back. Choose Paymark Payroll and experience the freedom to thrive. Contact us at payyourpeople.com for a personalized consultation and a demonstration of our powerful payroll solutions, and see how Paymark Payroll can better your workflow. That's payyourpeople.com. Join the growing list of satisfied businesses that have embraced the convenience and efficiency of Paymark. Payday made easy. Your business deserves nothing less than the best, and that's exactly what Paymark Payroll delivers. Now back to the show.
So, hey, Angel, if kids coming out of high school, how would they get into this field? I know you mentioned there's a shortage there. We like to pitch trades because that's, there is a shortage and a demand. What do you suggest there if they wanted to get into this?
Either kind of do what Don did, my husband, dive right into a shop. Mm-hmm. That's kind of like the kid I interviewed today. He's straight out of a, I'd call it like a trade school. Okay. But not even that in depth. It wasn't like a 4-year WyoTech type deal. But either jump right in, try to find that mom and pop shop or that independently owned shop, or see if a big corporate shop will take that gamble on you, which a lot are right now because you can't find anybody. So if you go in with a good attitude, that's what you want to do. It worked for me for the last... He was there about 2 years. It was his first flat rate. We call it flat rate position because the technicians are able to capture the hours that are actually on the work order. So just say it's a 10-hour body job, they get that 10 hours. Say it's a 30-hour body job, they get that 30. So like I was saying, the goal is 110 for the tech. The goal is more than that, but the goal is 110 per tech. That's a 6-figure tech. I mean, you can have my prepper, he's 19. I got him straight out of Forbes. I got him when he was 17 or 16, no joke. And now he's a flat rate prepper. I mean, he's making... I wish my boyfriend made that at that age. He's making great money, and I mean... Awesome. When Don Sr. owned the shop, it wasn't a flat rate shop, so Don didn't have that flat rate opportunity, but he's our flat rate painter, and they do great. So you would either take that dive, see if someone will take a gamble, go to your Rosedale Technical Institute. We work a lot with, there's like a whole board at Forbes Trail out in Monroeville. Yeah. There's like a whole board who takes their students and places them into other shops. That's how we got our prepper. We found other entry-level guys there. So you just have to kind of look for an opportunity and go for it.
You touch base about the national shops. Now, I don't ever remember seeing them as a young person.
Right.
But now it seems like a lot of small shops have sold.
That's exactly what's happening. I mean... 2 years ago now, a year and a half ago, one of those major, they're called MSOs, multi-shop organization, they knocked on my door. I'm 2 years into it, and they say, hey, we want to buy you. Yeah. And I go, why me? And they go, like, this is why. And I talk about being a woman in a man's world. I mean, if I told you what was presented and how it was presented, you would want to try. I mean, he didn't even offer me a fucking latte. Like, hey, here's $1 for your business. You gonna take it? And like when I came back with like my value in an email, nothing, aggressive or like, this is what I'm worth. He was like, okay, pretty much you'll be knocking on my door. And I'm like, so then
that out. You're
not that.
Don't.
What?
So, but you are right. That's the industry now, and it can it be intimidating? Yeah. So you have your dealerships who have their body shops, your big guys. We know who they are around town. And then you have what's called an MSO. Those are those new multi-shop organizations. They buy per zip code. So their interest is the zip code. And they have different rules and regulations, unfortunately, than an independent shop has. So they can feed, you may see one in this zip code, they are allowed to feed their shop in that zip code. It's overflow shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's a little, but it is what it is. So that's kind of where the industry is going. I mean, you have shops who've been in the game as long as Don Kuhn Auto Body. I mean, we've been in the game a long time. Don Sr. was the game for a long time.
Yeah, they're not even buying the name either. Like, it's not even like it would be Don Kuhn.
Right. I mean, there are some right now that there are some MSOs. They're also knocking, and they do actually let you keep your name, and they have no interest in really running your body shop. It's not yours anymore. They're an acquisition company.
Yeah.
And they're coming in, swooping in. The name stays on the sign, but it's no longer independently owned, and it is very much ran corporate at that point. Yeah. But that's where the industry's going, and it's scary to see a lot of the guys sell out to those companies because it does present a bigger challenge. But like I was talking to Neil about, does it present a bigger challenge? Because there are people who want to shop at the local hardware shop and not the big chain shops. So you can look at it glass half empty, glass half full type of deal.
I think it could jam up some of your purchasing power when you're trying to buy parts.
Right.
They start jamming up those avenues, making your life hell.
Well, some of those big hitters, dealership shops, have actually, I mean, they're sponsoring Rosedale Tech. They opened a whole entire parts warehouse. I mean, we're kind of feeding our competition if you think about it like that. But if their warehouse has it and we need it and they're killing the other small guys on prices, I mean, you got to do what you got to do, and it is what it is. I mean, it's a different entity. So,
do you think that any of that's backed by insurance companies? Funding, feeding money into that system.
That's a giant in itself.
Yeah, because they're unstoppable.
Oh,
so if Progressive decides tomorrow,
I genuinely feel it's a very insurance. I do this every day. It's a very insurance-driven industry. Unfortunately, it shouldn't be. You can repair the car without the insurance company, right? You wreck your car, I can fix it. I mean, you're going to pay me, but I can fix it. The insurance company can't fix your car without the repair shop. So you can look at it from any avenue you want. It depends who you're writing for and what side, what team you're on, but it is their checkbook. So they do, unfortunately, get to contradict a big portion of the repair, and for the reason of the MSO shops, the dealership shops, I don't know factual, but allegedly I would say I do feel like those MSO shops are given better opportunities, more referrals, in some situations. Yes.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know, my business doesn't have to worry about that kind of stuff,
Right.
Like, but you think like you got to worry about getting a bumper cleaned, and there's so much bullshit.
It is.
Behind
it's like politics.
Yeah.
Did you ever see The Good Burger from Nickelodeon.
Oh, yeah.
I always say it's like the Good Burger, like we're the Good Burger, welcome to the Good Burger, and the big hamburger guy's coming to buy us out. Like, that's exactly what it is.
Wow, someday that check might be. I mean, I've heard, like, in our industry that we were at a trade show, one of the big franchises said, we'll give you 3.5 times sales. And I looked ready to do it, and I was like, you write me a check. I won't even go back.
Goodbye,
I won't even tell the people.
I'll give you the key right now.
Yeah, like, I'll stay in New Orleans, bro.
I mean, there was just a big shop who does, like, probably around what we would do as far as numbers. And same story. I mean, he just sold to his estimator and never seen that coming in a family-owned shop. And his estimator just bought it. And I'm like, wow, that's great. Like, I'm glad to see that versus one of them MSOs coming in or a dealership. Because the dealerships are even buying up shops now.
That even sounds good. Goddamn MSOs.
Yeah, I know.
Cochran's been buying up shops, right?
Yep. He's coming in hot, boy. And it's like, I mean, he's a powerhouse. Let's just be honest. It's impressive, and it's almost a freaking monopoly. I mean,
he
he
stuck it
owns
out, too.
22. Let's be honest. There's not any.
Yeah, he stuck it out too because they came for the barrels sold. A lot of lots sold, car lots sold to these bigger companies, and he stuck.
Oh yeah,
stuck to his guns.
I think it's Lithia. They were a huge. Yeah. They're a huge acquisition company. They came in and bought out like Dave Ford.
Yep.
Bought and sold.
Yeah, but now Body by Cochran, he's coming in buying shops like mine.
Yeah.
And I know a couple people over there who work for him, like what I do. I was like, I mean, I'm always ready for a number, Rob. If you want to come over, I'm here.
It's like I'll let my tech give you the keys. 5.5 commercial
acres for a used car lot.
I'll let you, Mike Tech, give you the keys this time.
Yeah.
I'm fucking laughing.
How's the business changed? Because I know I was having a conversation. My uncle he's a mechanic. He has a repair shop, and he was talking about he went to a training seminar for programming all the collision sensors and all the radar and the automatic headlights and all that kind of stuff. And he was kind of giving me a little bit of the story behind all that and how much the industry as a whole is changing because of those sensors and how some body shops are having to send them to dealers to get reprogrammed, and the dealers are charging a fortune, and half the time the dealers don't even do it right, and that there's not a lot of small shops that are capable of doing it, which then has its own challenge because you're fixing a car, and not necessarily you, I'm not sure if you're doing it in-house, but a body shop's fixing a car and then either driving it to a dealer or putting it on the back of a tow truck and towing it to a dealer. So now you're tying up your tow truck, you're moving a vehicle, it's sitting at the dealership. So now you may have a customer like, hey, where's my car? Well, it's at the freaking dealership. Why is it at the dealership?
I should have took it there anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
You've heard this before.
And I know that whenever you bought the company, I know one of the first things you did was you changed your paint system and modernized everything. So how has all that stuff changed? And maybe you could tell a little bit about the paint system and everything that you did to try to modernize the shop.
The evolution of these vehicles are intense. Even 5 years ago, you didn't have a lot of, what would you call it, amenities on the vehicles that they offer now. So it does present a whole extra stage to the repair process, essentially. Mostly all Toyotas now, if you take off a bumper, it don't matter if it's a RAV4, Corolla, Camry. I mean, we've done 3 in the last week. Had to have them calibrated. We have one being calibrated Monday because when you take the bumper off, they have cameras in the front bumper, front grille. Now the bumper needs calibrated. Now, can the shop do it? Is the shop capable? Yeah, it's literally going into most settings or into the radio, the screen system. You hang targets and you aim different, whether it's the grill camera, whether it's mirror cameras, whether it's back cameras, you aim them at these targets that almost look like QR codes, and it self-calibrates essentially. But here's the problem. Each one of those target sets can be 10 grand, can be 12 grand, and you need it across the board because Ford's not using the same ones as Toyota. So can you get Honda, Toyota, Acura, probably in a Target kit? Yeah, but now you need to go get a GM Target kit, a Ford Target kit, a Mopar Target kit. Do you want to invest in that? Because now your shop's taking on the liability of that calibration. And these vehicles, I mean, they're freaking driving themselves. We have a Tesla in the shop right now. I'll touch on that. That's old. Elon Musk, seriously. So it is cool though. I do think about buying one, but it presents, it's a whole nother category added to the repair process. The whole industry in itself is evolving, and I think that is why a lot of guys like Don Senior and, you know, like Mike's Auto Body in Penn Hill or in East Liberty, they were huge game player, independent. I mean, he was there, he's been there forever. City shop, and he sold who'd he sell to? Caliber. And they to be able to keep up with that financially and have the technicians to do it is intimidating. So we sub all of ours out, not to the dealer. We were doing that when this all rolled out, and we had to do just that. You had to tow it out and ask for transportation time. But there's sublet companies now who got smart and created entities and businesses, and they bought the Target kits and the software, and they come right to the shop. We work with a great company, and 2 different ones, and they come hang the targets. They use your bay, so you could even get bay time for it, and they get it done. And we haven't really does it at a day, you know. Usually they've been good with getting us on the schedule, but sometimes, you know, if it's like this Toyota I have now, it's been done since yesterday, but they can't get us till Monday. So now I'm holding the car, insurance paying extra rental, you know, and luckily they do have insurance to pay that rental, or it would be on the customer. So it has presented quite a big challenge, but not just calibration, everything, you know, the way they're being made and how they're being made and what they're being made of. Can be a challenge. You have to keep up with, you know, I bought a $25,000 spot welder because I went to get certified when I first came back, and our spot welder was apparently out of date. They wanted one that was this year on, and ours wasn't. Worked beautifully, did the job, could spot weld any panel you wanted it to, but so the cost of this equipment, the cost of the certifications, because if you're writing for an insurance company, they want you to be what's called ICAR Gold. And that program a year, I think, is pushing $4,000 a year. Wow. And that's just to go on the computer and take the same tests every year.
Yeah.
Now, your technicians get certified on, like, welding and such, which I'm all for that. Like, you know, this is important stuff we're doing. Your families are at risk. So I am, you know, I'm glad it's being monitored somewhere, but it is a lot to upkeep and uphold. When I came back, shop was what it was. It was a, say it was 6-bay shop at the time. And we still had the same square footage, but we tore out an old room, and now we just got ourselves 3 bays. They say a bay is about $250,000 a year. I mean, so we just cracked almost $1 million just by tearing a brick wall down. That's stuff that they could have been doing, but they weren't. But it just takes a young, motivated mind to come in and say, hey, I seen this working at this shop. You're wasting money by storing nuts and bolts in this room. What are you doing? We did that. That was huge. Like, literally just tore down a wall, and that opened up our whole shop.
Yeah, sometimes another set of eyes changes everything.
It does.
I watched that Bar Rescue.
Yeah,
know,
I love that show.
And John Taffer, he sees things that other people don't see.
Right.
You know?
And touching on the paint shop, so we came in, we were spraying this, I don't want to say it was like non-quality paint, but it just wasn't the best paint we could have been spraying. So we upgraded the paint system. We start spraying more expensive paint, but it was a game changer. Now we're not like having color match issues, just the quality, the paint's being laid down. Don, and I'm not being biased, he can go to any shop. He is a hell of a painter. Probably because of his attention to detail, but he is genuinely a good painter. I mean, you've seen the product. So now you give this kid who's worked at his grandpa's shop in a freaking hole of a paint shop, you give him a paint system that actually shows what he's capable of. Then we needed a new booth, and I'm broke as a joke. Like, I have no money. I go to Jerry again, like, hey, I need like $300,000. Like, where can I find this? He hooks me up. Well, we go through. I actually didn't go to Jerry at first, and that was a bad mistake. So I was dealing with this lady who was not great at what she did, apparently, and he ends up getting me the money. We build the new paint shop. Took about a year, but I mean, so proud. Like, talk about seeing your third baby be born. I mean, we broke ground. We had land surveys. You know, I'm seeing this thing step by step be mortared together. You get to pick stuff, you know, like, you get to design it. I'm a woman, so we like that kind of stuff. We get to pick the paint booth. Me and Dawn, we've gone to SEMA. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
Shirt.
Yeah, we've gone to SEMA a couple times, and the year we were building the shop, you know, we went to SEMA. You get to see the booth, like, up and in person. So that was all really cool. And just to watch that paint shop be birthed, it was very expensive and scary and intimidating, but I mean, it's going to pay itself off. It probably already has, to be honest. You have to constantly evolve in the auto body business, because if you don't, you will get left behind. You will be the mom and pop shop who's getting the jobs that not everybody wants. You know, you're fixing the 98 Dodge Neons. Like, no offense, but that's what my mom drove way back. But nobody wants to, you know, fix that stuff. We're a production shop.
You're right. And you've made changes, even the changes that you made in the front end of the shop where the customer walks in and things are clean and modern and stuff like that. That goes a long way. You know, if you pave the lot, you know, that's something. Because, I mean, you think about it, if somebody has a $100,000 car that needs body work, they don't want to drive through a gravel parking lot.
Right.
And into a dingy waiting room and look around and be like, do I want this guy working on my car? And you definitely do not get that impression at Don Kuhn Auto Body. The parking lot's paved. There are nice cars in the parking lot. And I can say, I mean, the product is good. One of the things with your paint system that I liked was that it's all computerized and it tracks usage. And I'm sure you'll remember this, but it's something that I always remembered. You know, you said your business has to evolve, and all businesses do. And I've had this conversation too many times where when I very first started out, I was working for a TV repair company and they were struggling. And I'm like, it's because nobody fixes these anymore. Like, you need to change. Well, change to what? I'm like, home theater installation. These don't need fixed. They need hung on walls.
Right.
They didn't listen and they're out of business. So all businesses have to adapt. So, you know, the system for your paint, you had an issue that I remember where one of your painters was using a shit ton of paint. And nobody could figure out, why is he using so much paint? Like 6 times the amount of paint that should have been on that car. And the computer will tell you. Yeah. Because it weighs the paint before and after, and then it's like that piece should not have taken that much paint. And it turns out the nozzle on the paint gun was
too wide.
Mm-hmm. So he was just spraying too much paint. He wasn't doing anything wrong. Yeah. It just something was wrong with the equipment. Which, you know, mom and pop shops, Don Kuhn Auto Body, before you took over, that would have happened
There was so much product overusage down there. It was...
And that's money down the drain.
Paint's expensive.
Oh, yeah.
30% going out the vent. I mean, it adds up quick.
Yeah.
Even like technicians, before all of our stuff's monitored. A sales rep does not walk into that shop anymore and go to a body tech and say, hey guy, what do you need today? Which that was the case before. And when I went in, I mean, they probably were like, get this lady out of here. I mean, I was over at their boxes. Whoosh, I took cabinets off the wall. I mean, there's systems in these big MSO shops, and they do work. I mean, let's be honest. Like Caliber, okay, they started as a mom and pop shop. I believe they're from the South. They were like 2 or 3 brothers. They take a shop and they run with it. I mean, why can't Don Kuhn Auto Body do that? Why can't Mike's Auto Body? Why can't ARS over in Plum do that? They can. Mm-hmm. They're just not. So they take that, they run with it, and now they're this huge multi-shop organization. They probably, I think, they said they were opening, or they had plans to open like 200 stores in like the PA area, like in our area within like a year or two. And if you notice, they're popping up everywhere.
There's one over on Babcock now, I see.
Yeah, they're buying up left and right. Don't know where they're gonna get their techs, but so they are they're popping up, and they have to be able to monitor this stuff. They have to be able to monitor these systems, because if you're not, them techs are gonna just, they don't care. They're not buying the sandpaper. They're not buying the filler. They're not buying the glaze. They're not buying the nuts, the bolts. They're going to go in the nuts and bolts drawer and grab 3 handfuls. And if you don't put these processes into place, you're not going to see. That is all for the house. That's all profit for the house. So when I came in, I'm like, we're not going what they call S5 lean. That means they don't want shelves in the shop. They don't want any flat surfaces to gather over usage parts. They just, everything is literally, that sign is taped. Like there is a piece of tape for that sign. That broom goes there in that taped out area. So I did that in my own version, in my own independent version. And I mean, it's crazy what we've seen and what we're able to bill for now, and what they weren't billing for before, and what the tech stopped overusing, and the amount of money that's able to be made from that is nice.
Penny saved is a penny earned.
Yeah.
They my stepdad was a big anti-workbench guy. Like, he never wanted a workbench. And I'm always like, I think a nice workbench would be nice. And then you get a workbench and you're like, well, now it's just covered with shit.
Exactly.
So I got to go work on this, and then I'm going to spend a half hour cleaning off my workbench. So the no flat surface things,
yeah,
I'm a fan.
They call that like lean system, S5, but those shops, they are ran very strict because they're high production. And to be high production, I mean, I think my 330 hours is a lot to drop a week. These shops like Cocker, Monroeville, they have to be dropping upwards of like more than 1,000 hours a week, I'd imagine.
Between how many techs do you think?
I've heard they have like 20 body techs. Yeah, and they run 2 shifts. I mean, some of their stores run 2 shifts. Yeah, so they'll have a day shift and a night shift. A lot of painters come in at night because, the car is not ready until the evening. So the painter will come, spray. Some painters will go in at 5 a.m. They're done at noon. Dawn's schedule is very flexible, and it helps a lot for the kids.
Yeah.
It's funny, the new co-owner gets a brand new paint booth.
Yeah.
They're still changing tires in the gravel, but...
No, we've done a lot of good things. I mean, we upgraded the tow trucks. I mean, our tow truck fleet always was a good fleet, but now it's solid. I feel confident in the fleet, the equipment, tire changer. I mean, if you run through like what's needed to run that business, it's a lot. I mean, I remember when I bought the place, we could not even offer normal health insurance. They had like this, they gave them a dollar amount, but like it was like this weird plan. I'm not even going to speak on it. But I remember sitting down with our agent and was like, yes, like I get to give this to the guys, like, and then I got a 401k match plan. Wasn't that just last year? I think I implemented that.
Yeah, I think so.
And like that's huge, being able to offer that whenever you have these big guys like, I'll give you a $10,000 sign-on bonus, because simply they can, because they're doing this on quadruple the level I am. So we're keeping up, we're trying. I think we're tugging along pretty darn well, and
I concur.
So I'd be remiss if I didn't ask this, and this kind of takes us full circle to the beginning when you said you got rear-ended at the 40th Street Bridge. All growing up, right past Lambros Lounge, there was a body shop on the right-hand side that got consumed in the 28 expansion plan. But they had it painted in like 8-foot letters. We'll save you your deductible up to $1,000. Is that an old school thing?
Yes.
That's like, that can't be possible nowadays.
No, so what that means, just like for the knowledge, I think we could have quite several episodes on the knowledge of how this all works. But what that means is when they say we'll save you, you know, you have a $500 deductible, we'll save you that, they're not doing something.
Okay.
So if you come in, fender, bumper, headlight, it's an $800 repair, you have to pay your $500 at the end, the insurance pays the $300. When they say we're saving that, you're getting your car back with a bent fender. It might be spray painted, but those are the shops who are cutting the corners, or like your rad support's cracked in half, might not even be in the car, you type of deal.
Yeah, and I think with the insurance being so, like you're a, you know, State Farm, Progressive.
We do a ton of DRP work.
Yeah, so you work directly with the insurance company. So the insurance company is part of the entire process. Right. So there's nowhere to cushion that $500.
No, gone are those days, because every single estimate we write is what's called desk reviewed. It's audited. And now, even within the last 5-8 years, it's electronically audited. So, like, before the desk reviewer would have to call you and you'd be like belittled, like your estimate sucks, like, and you just have to like, okay, thank you so much, and you'd have to make all their changes. Now it's like almost like AI does it before it hits their desk, so you have an opportunity to make those changes where they want to see them. But yeah, it's.
I always thought that was just like Red Flag City right there. Like that dude just painted it with a paint
super
roller
Red
on his
Flag
building.
City. People still ask. I mean, we get it every day.
It's old school, you know?
Yeah, I just had a lady, like, her motor's so blown up, not related to her claim. Like, her glass was broken. That was it. Someone dropped back in. And there's so much oil buildup on this vehicle. I was like, hey, she's like, do you think that could be related? I'm like, no. And by the way, you have like this really high deductible that's like barely even over that amount. And she's like, oh, well, can you like save that? And I'm like, no, that's not how this works anymore. It's just not it.
Yeah, even in like dry cleaners, I have buddies that have had customers, and I've had people ask me, they'll come in and they'll be like, hey, can you say like, I lost an Armani suit? And I'm like, no, man. Like I put Brand Keller fabric in the machine.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to jail for you. Like I had my car broke into, and I need a receipt saying I had an Armani suit. I'm like, what do I get out of it?
Yeah.
Nothing.
Nothing. Jail time.
Yeah. Worrying at night whether you're going to get jammed up over somebody's bullshit.
Arrested at my kid's t-ball game.
Right.
So.
Very impressive, Angel, your willingness to keep growing. So after Jerry signs off on the Porsche, where do what's on the horizon here? Is it just continue expansion? Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully my mortgage is paid off, because that's where I'll be. Opportunities do keep presenting themselves, as far as like if we're gonna sell out, just to be honest. As I sit here right now, the correct number has not been presented to me. I had a conversation with a big hitter in the game a few months ago, and they asked me that same question, and I answered it the same way. Is I and Don, we genuinely love what we do. Like I said earlier, if I wasn't a shop owner, I'd be an estimator somewhere. So I think 5-year goal, pay the shop off, get there, and then from there, see where our staff is and see if it's our time to keep going, or if somebody knocks on the door with the correct number, do we become one of those businesses? I really hope not. Yeah. My first year, my goal was, and I was even looking at other shops to buy, I want to be one of those big hitters. I want to be an MSO essentially. So it kind of depends what awesome, life brings.
Yeah. Once that mortgage is paid off, you might like all that money coming in that you don't have to send back out.
I think about it quite frequently.
Yeah. The closer you get to the end note, it's like, man, that's going to be an extra $800 in my pocket. But you know what? You're a true entrepreneur, right?
I'm trying to be.
Yeah, you're doing a great job. And even when you pay that house off, that money's not coming into your pocket.
Right,
That's
you're
not
right.
how it works.
You're 100%
You'll
right.
buy a shop, or you'll buy a new paint booth or something better. But I circled here. I think it's crazy. Life's what comes and presents itself to you. But this all started with running out of gas.
Yep. Running out of gas.
So.
Back when gas was not $5 a gallon. Yep. That's literally where it started.
It's you're in a predominantly male operated field, but I think what you have going for you more than like anything else is that you're young. It's a young person's game now.
Right.
And if we're getting to the age, like we're all 40 this year, you said you're 35. People before us were old at 40, and they were done, and we're all just getting started.
Right.
And I look forward to seeing you grow.
Thank you.
I'd be more happy to hear you bought a shop than you sold a shop.
Right, me too.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you too.
And as the co-owner of Don Kuhn Auto Body.
We're still waiting for that new rate card, bud.
That would be Don's too. He has zero.
He doesn't want to sell.
No.
Well, it's his family business.
Yeah.
So, you want to bring it home, bud?
Yeah, how do people get in touch with you? Obviously, I think you were saying you sell cars, you need help. How do we get a hold of you?
Call the shop.
Yeah.
412-795-2240. We have a shop Facebook, Don Kuhn Auto Body. We have a shop Instagram, Don Kuhn Auto Body.
Okay.
That's where we're at.
Doing anything on TikTok?
Not on TikTok necessarily, but I want to. I always think it is. I always had the idea, like when you started podcasting, I'm like, let me check this out, because I think somebody with some knowledge needs to start an Auto World podcast. Very interesting topic. And you can go for episodes with the amount of information that I'm like, you don't know this? Like, how do you drive a car and not know how this works?
Collision
There's
course.
a lot of that stuff, and I learned that whenever I started doing those videos a long time ago. There's a lot of stuff that we take for granted that we know because we live in the worlds that we live in. Most people don't know that stuff.
Right.
And I think the same thing. Like, what, you don't know this, and this? No, I don't. Who knows that? Oh, maybe I should put that in a podcast.
Yep.
Well, our goal, like when we first started this, was we were like, not a goal, but one of our ideas was like finally get a space and set it up to where it's revolving, so people could come in and film an hour set.
Yeah.
And because we have the equipment, we have the guy, and so we should probably. If you get interested, let us know.
Yeah.
We're learning a lot through this process.
Yeah.
This will all probably be edited out, but
I think this is the next biggest thing, honestly. Yeah. I mean, everybody has a podcast. I'll sit down and I watch them for hours. Like, that's what I like watching.
Me too.
Don will walk in and he's like, what are you... I do watch like a lot of women stuff.
You don't watch like the volleyball in the door, pumping it up, popping the dents out, hot water on the bumper.
Absolutely not. We
long.
leave that at the shop.
This
But
shit can't work. Hot water on a plastic bumper.
I mean, I seen someone use oodles and noodles to try to fix a dent in a bumper, and it worked. They got it into paint by using it like a piece of like mesh. Oodles and noodles.
Shit.
Yeah.
I had backed into something, just a little fender bender, and I had a guy approach me at a Walmart parking lot, and he took a torch to it, and it came right out.
I mean, some
what
stuff
car?
comes out.
This was my old Chrysler.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Did you ask for?
I was like, go ahead. You know, I have to pay more than what I'm going to pay you.
It's
And
like
he
a
did
fucking
it.
snake on the shoulder.
It wasn't perfect.
Take a
but he
picture.
got the demo.
$5.
Yeah, it was wild. But, Angel, thank you so much. Very, very impressive.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being our
Learned a
first
lot.
female on the show.
Thanks for the
Killed
invite.
it.
Killed it. Absolutely killed it.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to Between Two Bridges, a business-to-business podcast. Find and follow us on your preferred podcast streaming platform. Like and subscribe, and leave us a rating and review. You can join us socially on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. Yes, we still call it Twitter. You can email the show at info@betweentwobridgespodcast.com. Until next time, make it till you rake it.